Hi everyone, my name is Sabrine Johnston. I'm back. I wanted to do a little bit more of an intimate video today, more of kind of a get-to-know video, a little bit of my story, and just explain to you almost what my mission statement is for my YouTube channel. I want to make this channel very organic, very almost interactive, so I want to say from the get-go, if there's something you want to know about me or something you want to see, please put it down in the comment box down below, because I love to read what everyone writes, and I've had a couple of requests for like hair tutorials on how I do my hair, so I'm curious, what do you want to know? Do you want to know how I do my color, how I do the cut? I do all of it myself. As you can see, I have my hair down today. This is the same cut that I've had in the other videos, but this is just combed down, actually pretty much just dried naturally, and just styled a little bit differently. Did a very simple makeup today, just a real simple nude eye and everything, and like a pink glossy lip. So I wanted to explain that I want my video to be about kind of like life, love, fashion, hair, makeup, and also what it means to be transgender. And again, I am open to any questions or things that you guys are curious about. And I guess I want you guys to kind of lead the way a little bit, you know, in what you would like to see. I didn't begin my transition until I was much older, until I was 38 or 39, so I think that's generally a little bit later in life. For years I had lived as a gay male for almost 20 years, you know, always knowing in the back of my mind that it was not my truth, if you will. It was not my most authentic form of being. You know, I was married in my very early 20s. That was short-lived, and definitely not the right thing to do. And then at that time, when my marriage ended, I confessed to her and to my family that I had feelings of gender incongruency, or being conflicted with the body that I was born in. For me, it's not so much about male and female. You know, it's more about my journey has been a journey of my body. You know, I think a lot of times when people hear the expression, oh, transgender, what it means to be transgender, they hear this kind of, for me, it's a little bit of an archaic expression, a man trapped in a woman's body. For me, I don't really feel that applies to me. And again, I want to really emphasize that this is my story. You know, just because you're hearing this come out of my lips does not mean this is the box of what it means to be transgender. This is my experience with my body and what it means to be transgender and my journey. So I always had a feeling of incongruency, and, you know, for probably the first 10 years that I lived as a gay male, you know, it kind of made do. And it was probably the last 10 years that I lived as Scott. That was my name, my birth name. Things kind of started to unravel a little bit. You know, it was a very difficult time for me because I always knew in the back of my mind that I had this confliction, you know, if you will, and this turmoil that was inside of me, and I had almost developed this construct of this gay male in a way to mask the pain that I had inside. You know, and at times, you know, I would be this very almost gregarious, outgoing gay character, which in a way gave me carte blanche, you know, to live and express all the facets that were inside of me. You know, I did a little bit of a drag, I was a little bit more flamboyant, you know, so that helped me to kind of like dip my toe, if you will, into the feminine world, you know, under the ruse of a gay male. But, you know, it wasn't until probably about the last 5 years before I began my transition. It was a really, really difficult time for me, and those that were in my life, I'm sure saw things going on, but really didn't understand fully what was going on. I think they saw some sort of angst and struggle and everything, and it was really tough. It wasn't until, for me, there was a time in my in that period of time that I was in my condo by myself. I was looking in the mirror, and I looked in the mirror for what must have been like 10-15 minutes, just staring into my own eyes. It was a really difficult day. I don't think anything particular had happened, but I was really feeling that struggle of not living my truth and not being my most authentic self. And I looked back in my eyes, and I had one of the most terrifying experiences. When I looked in my eyes, I saw nothing. My eyes looked vapid. And it almost looked like the essence of myself, that fire within, was receding. And there was almost a darkness in my eyes. And it was terrifying. And it was at that point that I realized that I had to transition out of my just sheer survival. You know, there's a common thread in the transgender community, you know, with several people I have talked to that are also trans, that, you know, we have these lovely comments that people say to us, you know, you're so brave, you're so courageous to do what you've done. You know, it has nothing to do with bravery. It has to do with survival. You know, it's not like we chose to embark on this journey and we're like, oh, we're so brave, and, you know, ooh, we got through this. Yeah, it was a very arduous journey, but it's almost like breathing air. It's what we had to do to survive, because it came to a point where if I knew if I didn't transition, I wouldn't be here. You know, just things were starting to unravel, and this kind of construct that I had created, you know, to kind of hide this internal pain, you know, kind of, if you will, the laughing clown that is really crying inside, you know, had begun to just kind of break down and unravel and deconstruct. And it was a very tumultuous time in my life. And for years I had always said to myself, oh no, you can't transition, it would create too much chaos. And I was full of fear. It was just fear. It wasn't denial. I kind of knew, I always knew in my heart, but it was fear. Fear of what would happen in my life, fear of what would happen in the workplace, would I lose my clients, oh my God, what would people think, what would people say? And that's what held me back, was that fear, the fear of what other people think. Which is, when we kind of take a look at that, you know, why are we putting our own happiness before just the thoughts and views of a lot of people that we really don't even know? You know, so you need to love yourself first, you know, and then you can be your most authentic and fabulous self. So it was very interesting, you know, in that period of time. Like I said, I was like, oh my God, you couldn't, you know, it would turn your life on end. And then it wasn't until that one day where I was really having that kind of dark moment, if you will, that there was like this little voice, you know, almost like the dark clouds parted and like this kind of lightness shot in, just a little stream of lightness. It was this kind of like weird divine universe moment for me, that, and the little voice said, but what if you did? I swear to God, I had this epiphanal moment where and it was kind of like a flash of light and hope, if you will, in my mind, that, you know, for the first time I had actually kind of truly entertained the idea. And I was like, oh my God, but what if I did? And then I had these flashes of kind of like happiness and peace, and the angst would be over, that I would finally be living my truest self. And it was at that moment where I realized it's what I had to do. So I began to take very small steps to transition, and we'll probably go into all of those steps in maybe another video. I just wanted this to be a very broad spectrum video, you know, of who I am and what I'm about. So I did my transition. I started with, you know, kind of growing my hair longer. I started going on hormones. I actually grew my hair all the way down to here. You know, in the beginning of my transition, I thought, you know, being the most feminine you can be, the most kind of girly, if you will, was what it meant to be transgender. And I did that. I grew my hair out. I've had rhinoplasty done on my nose to make it a little bit softer, not so masculine, so strong. It was much broader on the bridge here, a little bit more projection on the nose. I had it just refined a little bit. To make it a little bit more delicate. Not so mannish, girl, because we don't want the mannish nose. And then I went on hormones. I had a breast augmentation, and then I had my GRS surgery over 4 years ago, probably about, it's so funny, I have to kind of think back on the dates, ironically enough, probably about 4.5 years ago, I had my GRS, gender reassignment surgery. That's how we refer to it. We don't say sex reassignment surgery or sex change surgery because that's about sex. And this is a conversation about gender. So it's two different things. And then in the early part of my existence as Sabrine, I kind of, was living as this very feminine kind of creature, if you will, or trying to do my best to, and it was a lot of work. It was a lot of work to, keep your voice like way up high, speak very softly. As you can hear, my voice has a little bit of bass to it, and, it's actually much deeper. It's way down there naturally. So for me, to speak, it's a constant challenge and something I had to work at. And in the beginning, I paid a lot of attention to how I moved, how I acted, my gesticulations, things like that, to appear as feminine as possible and as womanly as possible. And kind of early on, I realized that it's so much work. Not so much work to be a woman, but it was so much of a preoccupation for me. Oh, what are people thinking? Are they clocking me? As we call it in the transgender community, when you get clocked, you get figured out. A lot of people in the transgender community, we use a term called living a stealth existence, and it's exactly what it sounds like, flying under the radar. To be stealth as a trans person is to pull yourself off as a authentically genetic female and kind of, be passable. That's another term that we use, be passable, so you look like you were born female. And that's, I honor that. I honor that journey, that some people like that existence. That wasn't my journey. So I kind of learned early on that, for me, my journey wasn't about being a man trapped in a woman's body. It was just aspects of my male body that I didn't like and things that I wanted to change. So I kind of realized that I had to kind of find my own way a little bit and pave my own road less traveled. Beautiful piece of work by Scott Empek, or Robert Frost. Sorry, I'm thinking about the book. But anyhow, so like I said, I had, longer hair, and down here, the makeup was always done. Anytime I went to the house, I had like the longer nails and the heels, and don't get me wrong, I loved that stuff, but it didn't feel right to me because it felt like I was almost, as I refer to it, trading one mask for the other. And I had lived as this gay male for a while, and then I found myself almost coming behind another mask of this kind of trying to be authentically feminine woman, and it just didn't feel true to me. It didn't feel genuine. And so I, as the time went by, I began to experiment with my look, and I can only describe it as kind of gender mending, because as I transitioned into Sabrine, there are pieces of myself that I kind of had to leave behind, and I didn't really want to leave them behind. Wearing shorter hair, wearing certain types of clothes, a certain type of expression, So I decided to, just take it as it came and kind of live my most authentic self. And for me, that was taking kind of my hair back off, cutting a little bit shorter, not worrying so much about being, as we say, fishy. I know it sounds like a derogatory term, but that's another term that means, oh, she is serving up all kinds of fish. It means being very, very feminine, very girly, very authentically female. That was my journey. And being who I am today and living how I am today is my most comfortable self. I can honestly say that I've never been happier in my whole life with who I am today. So, like I said, I wanted this to be just a little get-to-know-you video, and I actually have gotten several comments on some of my videos, so I really enjoyed that a lot, reading what everyone has to say. And I've had a couple of requests on hair tutorials on how I do my hair, what I do to my hair. So I'm curious, what do you want to know? Do you want to know what I do to color it? I do the color myself. You can see I got a little bit of pink in there. And I actually cut it myself as well. So Would you like to see how I style it, how I cut it, what I use to color it? Again, work as a hairdresser, I use professional products on it for the color. And then any makeup tutorials, what would you like to see? And also a little bit about me. I want this to be, like I said, a very organic kind of channel. And I want you to write down in the comments there. Ask questions and tell me what you want to know. And let's make it a get to know. Thank you very much.